Hello, you beautiful legends, and welcome to Blunt Force Healing Podcast. This is episode number 774, and this episode marks day 774 of consecutive daily writing, meaning the blog writing and podcasting, recording the audio or video podcast, currently video. 774 is the day that I will be updating you with the back date to Wednesday. So Wednesday was a bit of unusual in terms of our daily routine because it was one of those days that I used to call stormy days, when it was very hard to plan for and ensure that we were able to, make it before midnight, and I was able to write the blog or record a podcast. So, but obviously over 774 days, which is over 2 years, I've learned how to deal with those days where we are out of comfort of our own home and schedule, and I'm able to now facilitate that in a much more efficient manner. So without further ado, let me just give you a brief description. So we didn't have to rush it in the morning because the appointment in Dublin was around 1 p.m. So we had fairly okay departure time. We could have potentially departed just before 10 a.m., but I prefer to have more time as a buffer, so we decided to depart around 9 a.m. and we almost made it. I think we departed about 10 or so past 9 a.m. So we had roughly about 50 minutes spare, which is always eaten by either some traffic or some stop at the gas station, etc. So it's good to have. The road to Dublin was fairly smooth. It was a nice weather, fairly warm and dry. So we stopped in Enniskillen, and I like to stop in Northern Ireland in Enniskillen because as part of our small business with the sauna, we happen to have sometimes customers that paid in sterling, which is British pound, because they are from Northern Ireland and this is their currency. So sometimes they don't have cash with them, like in euro exchanged, or some of them don't have Revolut, or they don't want to pay with card and they have sterlings and they prefer to do that. So we basically never convert. So if it's a half an hour session and it costs €15, then equivalent £15 is the price if somebody wants to pay in sterling. And while it might be a little bit less of a deal for them because British pound is stronger than euro, that's just the way it is. It's a small difference, so we wouldn't bother with exchange rate or anything like that. So we were collecting those pounds and barely spending it. So every time we go through Northern Ireland, we have that opportunity to pay in pounds, and it's kind of double saving because not only we do not have to exchange those pounds to euro and pay exchange fee and lose on exchange rate, but also we don't have to pay from our card in euro and pay exchange rate from the bank or you know, lose on their ratio or rate of exchange, which is always much worse than it should be, because that's how the banks earn money. So instead, we have native currency and we pay in that currency without any exchanges in between, which is good. So we stopped at Enniskillen, we got our coffee and a couple of things, and we drove to Dublin. We dropped Elizabeth for her appointment, and because we didn't have a lot of time, about 2.5 to 3 hours, we decided to drive to one of the places where we used to visit very often when we lived in Kilcock. It's in Dublin Mountains. It's kind of on the verge of Dublin Mountains and a little bit of Wicklow area. It's called Barnaslingen Forest. I think I might have mentioned that in some of the posts, but one of the memorable moments from that place is that it was there where Julian found a porcini mushroom, but it wasn't just another porcini. He found a triplet of them, so three grown together, very lovely, shaped and nicely preserved. Three specimens together of porcini. So I don't remember finding three of them in one place ever. So it's kind of a very unique situation and anomaly a little bit, especially that they were very healthy and very tasty. So we will always remember that moment where Julian spotted those three. And this time we weren't as lucky, but we found, I think, 4 specimens of a very nice bullets. So it was still a good find, and we had to return back to Dublin city center, which took about 35 to 40 minutes each way. So you can imagine, it only reminds me how I don't like this big city or cities in general, because you're losing a lot of time on traveling very short distances. It was about 15 kilometers, let's say 16, so that's 10 miles, and it took 40 minutes. It's ridiculous. In 40 minutes, I can almost get to Letterkenny, which is 50 kilometers away. So that's, you can compare 15 versus 50, and you see the difference. So after we returned, we picked Elizabeth. We drove to Blanchardstown Shopping Center, and Julian and Elizabeth spent some time shopping around Nike outlet. And then we drove to our old area, Kilcock, County Kildare, where we lived for a decade. We got our favorite takeaway. It's an Italian place that has very average food except for one dish, which is taco chips, which is basically a standard thick fries, French fries, well, chips. And they put on top a freshly made, kind of homemade taco sauce with always fresh and tasty ingredients, well seasoned. And I am yet to find any other taco chips that are better than that. All of them are way far from the standard that these guys maintain. So we ate those chips and then we drove back home. It was a long way, but we decided to go slightly differently through Manorhamilton and Leitrim and Kinloch, Bundoran and Ballyshannon. So a bit longer way in terms of a distance, but equally fast in terms of time. It's a very similar time to drive. So we decided to do it differently. Better roads, and overall it was easier on me because I was already exhausted and slightly tired, but had so much caffeine in my blood that I stayed late, up to 3:30, 4 in the morning, I believe. So I was pretty exhausted in the morning, but it is what it is. That's pretty much it. I don't think we have anything else to update you on. So there's a couple of things that are coming up. 12th of November, we'll be flying out to Tenerife. So there's a couple of things that I need to do, including drone purchase and booking some car and other things. There's a couple of things that we want to implement in the sauna. So look out for these updates. There's memberships. There will be some embroidered hats, sauna hats, and Elizabeth is planning on implementing something in collaboration with her hairdresser. So that will be interesting. And these are pretty much the updates that are coming soon. So that's it. Thank you very much for tuning in. I really appreciate you listening to me, especially that the last updates are not the best. I'm not in the same place with my head, so I'm trying to recalibrate and realign myself with a better content, but the changes are coming, and this project is definitely going to evolve between now and the milestone episode for 1,000th day. I am yet to choose the way that I want it to go, but it's coming. So have a great rest of the day, afternoon, evening, wherever you are on this beautiful globe, and stay tuned. See you again tomorrow.